Live. Hello, Joey.
Have you ever talked to a chicken?
No, Thomas, you're live on Facebook.
Am I?
Yeah,
Why? How?
because I'm recording something. Right. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a nice day, another lovely and sunny day here in Glossop. So as promised, today what we're going to be talking about is socialisation, so puppy socialisation. And I'm going to, thank you, and I'm going to be kind of talking a little bit more about what we need to be doing, obviously, now that we're in lockdown and we can't get out and about as much with our puppies. So it's quite a scary time, isn't it? You know, you've probably been planning on getting a puppy for months, if not years. You know, you've picked a time that's right for you. You've got them booked onto puppy class, everything's sorted, everything's ready to go. And then all of a sudden we're in lockdown, all the puppy classes are cancelled, you can't do all the things that you were going to do with them, you can't get them out and about. So it's a bit of a worrying time. So we need some tips and some ideas to make sure that even though we are in lockdown, we can still do our absolute best for our puppies. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about, first of all, what socialisation is and why we're doing socialisation and why it's so important. Anyone that's met me with a puppy knows that this is my absolute favourite thing to talk about. So I'll try and keep it brief. Because I think it's absolutely the most important thing that you can do with your puppy socialisation. So we'll talk about what socialisation is, why you should be doing it, and then we'll talk about what you should be doing and what changes we need to make now that we're on lockdown as well. So we'll go through it. Any questions that you've got as we're going through, obviously just type them in the box below. Even if it's after, you'll still be able to watch this video. You can still put questions there. Okay, so let's get started. So what's socialisation? So socialisation is often thought to be introducing our dog to other dogs. So when I speak to people and I say, oh, you need to do some socialisation, they'll go, oh, we've already got some other dogs, they're fine with other dogs. And that really isn't what it is. That is part of it. Introducing them to other dogs is part of it. Hi, Debbie. Hello. But it's not just what socialisation is. Socialisation is about so many other things. It's about introducing them to lots of different animals, so not just dogs. So round here we're thinking, hi Alyssa. So round here we're thinking sheep is a big one, horses, cows as well, cats. Obviously we've got birds, geese, ducks, things like that. So there's a lot of different animals you need to be introducing them to, as well as other dogs. We've got people. So people of all ages and all sizes wearing all kinds of different things. So little kids, big, tall, hello Alyssa, big, tall people, people of different ages, people wearing different things like men with beards, people with glasses, people wearing hats, people with big coats on, high-vis, so people wearing uniforms and high-vis, that sort of thing. We've got traffic and travel, so getting them used to travelling in the car, that's an important one, but also getting them used to being walked along the side of a road where lots of traffic is going past, whether it's cars or buses or trucks or lorries. We need to make sure they're comfortable with that. We've got handling, so getting them used to being touched in all different ways, happy having their collar put on, happy having their harness put on, happy having their tails touched, being dried under their tummies, ears touched, things like that, which are going to be helpful for when they go to the groomers or to the vets as well. We've got things like household appliances and noises. So household appliances, why can't I say that? Household appliances like hoovers, hair dryers, anything that makes a really loud noise. And if it moves, it's even worse as well. So they need introducing to them, and all kinds of different noises as well. So in addition to like hoover noises, you've got things like thunder, fireworks, you've got just loud bangs, trucks, bin lorries, any kind of noise that you can think of, basically, that they're going to come across in their life. We need to be trying to expose them to that as soon as we can. Movement. So we've got things like bikes going past, runners going past, birds flying past. That's an important one. And then the other one is alone time. So obviously we spent quite a bit of time yesterday talking about crate training and introducing them to a crate and getting them comfortable with being on their own. So I'm not going to talk too much about that today. If you want to know more about getting them settled in a crate and making sure they're happy being left on their own, I would recommend looking at the video that I did yesterday instead. So what we're trying to do, and it sounds ridiculous, is introduce our puppies to everything that they're ever going to come across in their lives. That's kind of the ideal thing in terms of socialisation. So if you think one day you might want to take them on a train, you need to do that when they're a puppy. If you think that one day you might want to take them to the playground, you need to do that when they're a puppy. If you think one day they're going to meet a really big, massive dog, you need to do that when they're a puppy. So it's ticking off all of those different things. It's not possible to do that. So don't drive yourself mad saying, I've got to be doing all of those things. The main key is introducing them to as many different things as possible so that we build their confidence and so that they end up being optimistic puppies and optimistic adult dogs. We want them to get to the point where when they see something that they've never come across before, which is going to happen as, when they're adults, they're not automatically thinking, oh gosh, new things are scary. They're thinking, well, generally new things are fine. Nothing bad happens when I see new things. So there's nothing to be worried about with this new thing. So we're trying to get our puppies to be optimistic adult dogs rather than worried and nervous adult dogs. That's what the aim is with our socialisation. If we don't work on our socialisation, and this is why I'm so passionate about it, if we don't work on it, we end up with problem behaviours. So we end up with adult dogs that are either aggressive with other dogs, aggressive with people, aggressive with other animals. They might be nervous. They might try and chase traffic. They might be scared of things and hide away. There's all kinds of different behavioural problems that can result in adult dogs just from doing a lack of early socialisation. And by doing that early socialisation, we can prevent all of these things happening. Most of the problems that would happen are going to be really hard to treat if you let them get to that point. So you're going to be talking months, if not years, of training with them to get them past it. Whereas you can spend, a few weeks doing your socialisation and then that's it. You don't have to worry about it again. So that's why it's well worth putting it in. Timing with your socialisation is really important as well. So I was talking about this with somebody yesterday, I think it was. You have different periods when they're growing up, the way that their brains develop, different things happen at different times. So when you first get them, they can sometimes be a bit nervous. So sort of that 8 or 9 weeks, they can sometimes be a little bit nervous. But once they're settled in after a few weeks, they're generally quite confident and not too bothered about new things. They're happy meeting new people, happy meeting new animals. And that's the optimum time for your socialisation. It normally happens roughly around 12 weeks. So around 12 weeks, that's when they're really kind of happy and confident. So that's a good time to do it. It doesn't mean you're not doing it before, because I'm going to get you all started on it straight away. I want you doing socialisation like immediately after I finish this video with you. But it just means that 12 weeks is kind of, they're more receptive to things. But then when you get to about 15, 16, 17 weeks, what happens then is they go in the opposite direction, where they start to be much more wary of things. So anything new that they see, all of a sudden they're quite kind of wary of and suspicious of. Whereas before that, when they come across new things, they're not. They're just saying, oh, it's something new. It's it's going to be absolutely fine. And that changes at that sort of that 16-week period. So we don't want to leave our socialisation until they're 16, 17, 18 weeks, because you've missed out on that period of time when they're really optimistic and they're happy about coming across new things. That's why it's important to get it done when they're quite young. So if you leave it till sort of 4 months, you're not going to be able to do it the same. You'll be able to do some bits, but it won't be as effective, because your puppy's brain isn't developing in the same way. That 12 to 16 weeks is where it's sort of deciding what kind of puppy it wants to be, how confident it's going to be, what it likes, what it dislikes. So we want to get that socialisation in then, rather than waiting till they're 16 weeks when they've kind of started to get a little bit more set in their ways. So that's why we want to be doing our socialisation. So just to give you kind of a quick background of one of the reasons that I'm so keen on this is I didn't do any socialisation with Joey. So my dog Joey's a black Labrador. He's going to be 15 this year. And when he was a puppy, I didn't really know anything about socialisation. I knew I had to get into training classes, so I knew I wanted to do some training with him, but I'd never even heard of socialisation. And because of him being a Labrador and prone to hip problems and things like that, the vets were really strict about, you should only be taking him out for 5 minutes for every month of his age. And also that we couldn't be taking him out until after he'd finished his course of vaccinations. So I think we picked up at 8 weeks. He had his first vaccination at 9 weeks. It was 2 weeks between his first and his second vaccination, so then that was 11 weeks. And then they said we couldn't take him out until 2 weeks after that. So we didn't really start taking him out until he was 13 weeks old. So we'd only got 3 weeks then to do socialisation with him before he hit that fear period at 16 weeks. And then what we did then is we didn't do socialisation with him. We just took him for walks. So we'd think, right, you can go out for 15 minutes. So we'd just walk out of the house for, 5-10 minutes and then back for 5-10 minutes and that's it. And we just used to do that same walk every day. So he was really well socialised to the area around our house, the kind of slow-ish traffic that went past, the occasional dog that went past, the occasional person that went past. But during that period of time, he never came across any other animals really, any busy traffic, any fast traffic. He didn't come across many other dogs or many other people. So he was well socialised to that very tiny little area that we were working on, but nothing else. And because of this, we ended up having problems. So my biggest issue with Joey is that he spent quite a few years being aggressive with other dogs. And I firmly believe that that's because we didn't spend enough time socialising him with other dogs when he was younger. So one of his big things was that we'd take him for a walk. And as soon as he saw a dog, he was scared. And instead of trying to hide away, he'd bark and he'd lunge at the other dog to try and tell it to go away. He had issues with motorbikes, so we hadn't socialised him to like fast moving traffic. So when a motorbike went past, he used to try and lunge at it, which was really safe, as you can imagine. We had issues with men as well. I remember going through a particular issue with men if men came into the house, he really, really wasn't happy about that. Obviously, we hadn't spent enough time working on that with him. And then more recently, we had some sound sensitivities. So we think he's pretty much completely deaf now. So we don't have any issues with sound sensitivities anymore because he can't hear anything, bless him. But I think this was about 3 or 4 years ago. He went through a real period of being very scared of any kind of beeping sounds or smoke alarm type sounds. And he'd sort of sit there trembling and go into a right state, which was horrible to see. But again, we didn't do any sound socialisation with him as a puppy. So I'm the reason I go on about it so much is I don't want people to be in the same situation that I was in, basically. I want you to make sure you get your socialisation in now so that it's done and it's ticked off and you don't have to worry about developing any problems later on. So it's an insurance policy. It's trying to prevent those problems from happening in the first place. Okay. So we've got all of those categories, but we need to be a little bit more flexible about how we're going about doing this socialisation. So I've kind of put down some ideas of what we can be doing. So the first thing I want you to do, and I would do this whether we were in lockdown or not, is I want you to think about your walks as not as walks, as socialisation opportunities. So instead of doing what I did, where you just walk out the house and you walk around the block for 20 minutes or half an hour, you need to be planning where you're going. So you're still allowed out once a day. So there's no reason why one day that couldn't be walking along the high street. One day that couldn't be going to the supermarket car park. One day it couldn't be going to the local kids playground. Obviously we're keeping that distance. We're still keeping that 2 meters, but you can still go to those places on your once a day outing. So your once a day outing is going to be focused around your puppy socialisation now, even if it means popping them in the car and driving them to the nearest park or playground so that you're not over-exercising them too much. So that's what we need to be focusing with. If you've got more than one person in the house as well, you can get more than one person taking them out. So like with us, if it was us, I could take a new puppy out once a day and then Michael could take a new puppy out once a day. So that way they're getting 2 opportunities for socialisation rather than just one. So if you've got more adults in the house that can be getting involved with it, then that's another way of doing it. Obviously, it's lovely to all go out together as a family, but in our circumstances at the moment, I think we're probably better splitting up and tackling our socialisation like together, and then we can get double the amount of socialisation in the same amount of time. So a good kind of idea for socialisation is to try and arrange to sort of cross paths or meet with other people that you know. So if you know someone else that's got a dog or someone else that's got kids that can bring bikes and things like that, you could potentially meet in the park but keep your 2 meters distance. So that way, even though your puppy's not getting to actually go over and say hi to the other dog or go over and say hi to the people, they're still able to watch them from a safe distance. So they don't need to be right in the thick of it. They just need to be able to observe and watch. And this applies to them even before they've finished their course of vaccination. So the vets will say to you that they're not fully protected until after they've had their course of vaccinations. And for some brands of vaccine, that's a week after the second one. For some, it's 2 weeks after the second vaccination. But either way, they're not protected then. So what they shouldn't be doing is they shouldn't be coming into contact with the floor outside your house, or other dogs that may potentially not be vaccinated. That's where the risk of infection comes from. But it means that it's absolutely fine to carry them. So even if they're not covered, you need to be getting them used to being carried, because you're going to be able to carry them along the high street, carry them to the park, carry them around the woods, just for short periods of time. I'm aware that some puppies are bigger than others and that they're going to get a little bit heavy. But getting them out, carrying them is going to be much better than waiting until they can actually walk outside and leaving it till then and then start with your socialisation. Because there's so much to tick off, you want to get a head start on it straight away, essentially. So yeah, so meeting with friends and family that have maybe got dogs, kids, just so they're getting used to seeing other people than you, other animals as well. And I would be thinking about, in terms of animals as well, seeing if there's any sort of fields with sheep, cows, horses that you can walk past as well. Again, that would be absolutely fine as part of your walks, because that's your once a day outing. You're getting near horses and sheep and cows, you're not getting near people. So that would be absolutely fine. Excuse me. So anywhere you're going, you can carry them. What we normally do is we normally give clients a big long list of all the dog-friendly places in the area, but I suspect about 95% of them are shut now. So it's things like dog-friendly pubs, dog-friendly cafes. They're a really nice way to get out and socialise your dog. So we can't do that at the moment. But it might be that you go and pick up your veg. You could take them with you to do that, or go and pick up a few bits from Tesco's. You could take them in the car park then. So I would still be trying to take them with you as much as you can out and about to different places. And when we're introducing them to all of these different experiences, we need to make sure that they're having positive associations with them. So it's no good if, to use sort of the car park example, if you take them to a car park and a massive car goes past really, really quickly and they're scared of it, they will recover, but we're aiming for them not to be scared. It's all about building their confidence. We don't want them to be put in a situation where they're worried about something or frightened of something. So what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. One, we're going to pair all the new experiences with a nice reward. So food tends to work really well with this. And two, we're going to give them loads of distance and space as well. So whenever you're introducing them to something new, I would always err on the side of caution and start further away. So start, a good few meters away, or even further away from something if they've never come across it before. And that way, you're starting far enough away that there's no need at all for them to be worried by it. If they are worried, you need to move further back. So distance is going to be your friend. The way to make them feel safer is to give them more space from the thing that is that they're worried about. And if they're not worried and they're happy and they're confident, then you can let them go closer, obviously, as long as it is safe to do so. So if they want to go closer, you can follow them. It needs to be their decision rather than yours. It needs to be they're thinking, oh, I'd like to go and investigate a little bit further, and then you go with them rather than you going, come on, we're going to investigate this. It needs to be down to them. And then what we can do then is when they see the new thing, we can give them a little treat so that they think, well, when a noisy van goes past or a motorbike goes past, I get a treat. Therefore, noisy vans and motorbikes are good because treats come with them. So that's where we're using the positive association. One thing that's going to be really important is watching your puppy's body language. So I've got a really nice illustration which has got some dog body language stuff on, and I will post that in the Facebook group so you can have a look at it. You're going to have to get good at watching your puppy and thinking, actually, they're actually not too happy about this situation, so we need to move away. Or even watching what other dogs are doing as well, and deciding whether it's okay for your dog to go and say hello to them or not. It's useful just to be able to read any dog's body language as well. So yeah, so I'll pop that on there. So some of these challenges, these socialisation challenges, are going to be fairly straightforward and fairly easy to do, even though we're in lockdown. Some of them are going to be more challenging. So I've gone through my list and I've put down some ideas for you. So people, obviously we've said if you can arrange to cross paths with people that you know, friends or family members, when you're out on your once a day walk, that's going to be good, especially if, for example, you've not got kids in the family and some family friends have got kids. That's a good way of getting them used to that. Watching people from a distance. So when you are going out and about, I mean, every walk that we've been on this week, we've come across at least one person, if not two people. I mean, it's not been busy, but we've definitely been seeing people. We're able to keep our distance. So they're still going to be seeing people that way. So it could be that when you're on your walk, every time someone walks past you, just pop a treat in their mouth so that they're learning that people are good. Because we're not going to be able to let them go over and say hello like you might have done before. You might have let them go over and say hello. They get a cuddle from the new person, so they think, oh, brilliant, people are great. This time, the positive association is going to have to come from you. They're going to have to see the person and you're going to have to give them the treat as a reward. So that's how we're going to have to do it. The other idea, which is probably going to work better with families, is getting dressed up. So if you've got kids with fancy dress costumes, this is going to be the time to get them out, because they're going to get used to you. If we can kind of disguise you as somebody else, that's going to be really helpful. And also I would be thinking about all the different things that you've got. So if you've got a big hat that you could put that on. If you've got some big boots that you can put on, if anyone's got like a high-vis jacket or a coat or a uniform, put that on as well. So they're getting used to a really wide range of different clothes as well. You could get things like use an umbrella as a walking stick, and carry some shopping bags, that sort of thing. So they're getting used to that. So that's what we're going to do with people. Other dogs, we're just going to watch from a distance. And again, that's good if you can set up. Yes, it will keep the kids entertained as well. If you've got someone you know that's got a friendly dog that they can keep on lead, you can sort of sit on a bench in the park, watch that other dog go past. And same as with the person, what you're going to do is every time they see another dog, you're just going to pop a treat in their mouth. So they start to think, oh, dogs are good. They mean good things. What you don't want, what you need to be careful of, especially when you've got a tiny puppy, is other big dogs rushing over to them. So really, I don't think people should be letting their dogs off lead as much in the current situation, because if they run off to another person, they're going to have to go and get the dog, in which case they're really close. So unless they've got an excellent recall or a dog that really stays close to them, they should probably be keeping them on lead. But you are always going to have somebody that lets their dog off lead. And if your puppy's there on the floor tying and a big dog comes running over, even if it's friendly, and even if the owners are going, oh, it's really friendly, that's going to be scary for your little puppy because it's a big dog. So what you can do there is you can either pick your puppy up, or you can use yourself as a little bit of a barrier, or stick to places where you know that they're going to be on lead as well. That's a good way of doing it, so that you're avoiding those incidents where there's loads of dogs running off lead together and it's going to be too overwhelming for our puppies. Traffic. So the main difference traffic wise is obviously it's a lot quieter. So you might need to go out to roads that you know are going to be busier, like the main roads, to get them used to that. And then the other thing is getting them used to going out in the car. And so we can do that. We can time that in as part of our once a day thing. We could potentially drive them somewhere so they're getting used to the motion of the car. The other thing that I'm going to get you to do is some sound socialisation. And this is a nice, easy one to do at home. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either just go on YouTube and search for different sounds like thunder, fireworks, traffic, that sort of thing, and you can play it in the background, or there's an app that you can get for your phone. I'll do a link. Let me just write that down to remind myself. I'll do a link to it in the group so that you can take a look at it. So it's designed by an Australian dog trainer called Amy, and it's called the Soundproof Puppy Training app. And it's a big library of lots of different sounds to get your puppies used to. So there's fireworks, there's thunder, there's kids playing, there's dogs barking, there's hoover sounds, there's lawnmowers, there's loads of different stuff there. So there's going to be traffic sounds as part of that, which is going to help you tick off your traffic stuff, even if you can't find any busy roads with lots of traffic on at the moment while it's a bit quieter. And with that sort of sound socialisation, what you want to be doing is, again, you want to be doing it when something nice is happening. So I like to work on sound socialisation when I'm playing with a puppy. So get them playing with a toy, get them running around, get them having a game of tug. And then in the background, not too loud, you've got some thunder going on or some fireworks going on, and that's just going to prevent them from developing any fears around sounds or sound phobias later on as older dogs. So try and do a little bit of that every day if you can with the sound socialisation. Grooming and handling is easy. If you have got a dog that's going to need to go to the groomers, I would probably be doing a little bit of table work, lifting them onto the table and lifting them off the table. Get them used to the equipment just by doing a little bit of brushing and then treating them while you're brushing them. And same with your handling, so handling their ears, handling their paws, and then treating them while you're doing it. So we're pairing that handling exercise with something nice. Household appliances is going to be a really good one to do as well. So things like your hoover and your hairdryer, they're there already, so you can use those. So what I'd do with something like that is I'd pair the positive, so I'd pair the reward with the sound of the Hoover or the sound of the hairdryer. So you could have someone in one room with the Hoover, someone in the other room with the puppy, and you could just switch the Hoover on for a second and then off straight away. Whoever's with the puppy can then treat the puppy when the Hoover sound comes on. So they learn that when they hear that Hoover sound, they get a treat. And then if they're okay with that, then you can start to bring them closer together a little bit at a time. Same with a hairdryer, so you could just switch it on and off, so it's on for a second, but while it's on, they get a treat fed to them in their mouths. And anything else that's noisy at home, so you might have like a blender or a soup maker, you might be out in the garden while it's nice, lawn mowing, hedge trimming, something like that. Those sorts of things are going to be perfect for puppy socialisation. The other thing which is going to be really good is sudden noises. So dropping things like, plastic cups or bowls on the floor or saucepan lids and making loud noises. They need to get used to that kind of thing, because throughout their lives, there are going to be noises that are unpredictable that they're going to have to get used to. So what you could do is you could sort of drop something on the floor and then quickly feed them a treat and let them go and explore, so that they realise that there's nothing to worry about. This is the kind of thing that generally, if you've got small kids in the family, this happens anyway. So you kind of accidentally socialise your puppy to loads of different loud noises from toys and things that they're doing, and you don't really have to think about it. But if you're an adult-only household where it's a bit quieter and a bit calmer, you sort of need to make that effort to add in a few of these different things. And then for movement, you can do this. So this is something that we're going to do in puppy class tonight, actually, which we're going to try out. So what we normally do in puppy class for movement is we've got a push chair and we've got a skateboard that we use. So we wheel the push chair past and we treat them. We wheel the skateboard past and we treat them. So if you've got anything like that at home, you can do that. So a bike would work. And a little scooter, like a kid's scooter, anything on wheels, just to get them used to that movement, and different speeds as well. So probably starting off a little bit slower and then building up your speed. And then when you're out and about on a walk, when you do see a cyclist whizzing past or someone going past on a scooter or even a runner, lots of dogs can be kind of startled by someone running past. Again, pair that with something nice like a treat. So as they run past, you're popping a treat in their mouth. So it doesn't become something that they're worried about. It's something that they're happy and they're relaxed about. They're not too worried about. Okay, so there's sort of the main kind of categories that you're working through with your socialisation. So you've got your people, your animals, including dogs, you've got your traffic and travel, your handling and grooming, your household appliances and your noises, and your movement as well. So we're able to, not perfectly, but as well as we can, replicate all of those different things. And what I'm hoping is, even though we're not able to do exactly what we would be doing if circumstances were normal, we'll still do enough to end up with a really confident, happy, optimistic puppy at the end of it. The other idea that I also had was to maybe do some confidence building exercises with your puppies at home as well. So again, to sort of boost this confidence, boost this sense of optimism with them. And there's some sort of really easy, like little games that you can do with them at home. And this is what we tend to do in our puppy play groups. It's more about confidence building in our puppy play groups than socialisation. So setting up a mini obstacle course is a good one to do. So even if it's just that you've got like a mat that they've got to walk over, and then a towel, and they've got to step over a box, and then they've got to go underneath a chair, something really simple like that, using things from the house, you can make an obstacle course with that. So it's getting them used to going onto different surfaces, under different things, maybe into kind of dark spaces, climbing on and off things as well. So they're getting used to moving themselves in that way. So that's going to be really helpful for, as I say, for building their confidence. The other thing, which is great for confidence building, is scent work. And I know we talked a bit about this on the first day, but anything where your puppy's sniffing out treats. So it could be as simple as throwing some treats on the floor and then they find them. Or it could be more difficult, so that you've got that towel from before, but you're hiding treats under it. So they need to move that towel out of the way to get the treats out. Scent work is good for building optimism, because it teaches them to kind of trust themselves and trust their senses, because they think they can smell something and then they follow it and then they get to something and they get a nice reward afterwards. So it's very, very rewarding for them. So that's our scent work. Any kind of training with them, any kind of training that you can do, like sit, down, paw, it doesn't really matter what it is. It can just be fun tricks if you want it to. What that's going to do is, again, it's going to increase their confidence, and it's also going to strengthen that bond with you as well, because when you do go out and about with them, you want them to have a really good connection with you so that they feel safe. If they've not got a close connection with you, they're going to feel like they're out there on their own. Whereas if they've got that bond, they're going to think, we're here as a team, it's fine, we can deal with this together. So training is going to help with that. And then the other thing is any sort of food related puzzles and activity toys. So we talked on, I can't remember what day it is at all. It's Thursday, isn't it? I think it was Tuesday. Anyway, the first one of these videos, we talked about using Kongs and activity toys. So they're perfect for puzzles because they've got to try and work their way out of it. Things like the slow feeder bowls, where they've got to kind of chase the treats around with their paws, and any kind of activity toys. So there's another dog trainer actually called Nina Otterson, and she's made loads of lovely dog training toys where there's little compartments that you can put the treats in, and they've got to learn to kind of lift a little a lever up in order to get to the treats. Things like that are going to be great for building their confidence as well. So that's going to obviously then help them become a much more optimistic puppy. Okay, I feel like I've just talked at you for ages. Okay, well, half an hour, yeah. So that's kind of, just to recap, that's sort of what socialisation is, why we're doing socialisation, why it's so important, and why you definitely need to be starting to do it straight away. What we would normally do in terms of socialisation, so how we would do it and what exactly we would do, and then how we're going to alter it to make sure that we're still able to do our socialisation while we're in lockdown. So it's going to be making the most of those outings. So does anyone have any questions? I'll see if anyone has any questions, and then just going to talk to you about the workbook that I've got coming next week, which I'm hoping it's going to really help you with your socialisation. Any questions? Someone said to me yesterday there's a little bit of a delay on the messages coming up, so I'll hang on. Okay, doesn't look like it. That's fine. Obviously, I was just so thorough. So I'm going to post in the group the little illustration that I've had done of dog body language so that you can have a little bit of a look at that. Some dogs are much easier to read than others. There's some dogs, there's a couple of breeds of dogs which I still really struggle to read their body language, but some are much more obvious than others. And when it's your own dog, you start to get the hang of it. The other thing, yes, lawnmowers. I think we said that, didn't we, Debbie, when we did noises and things. But yeah, things like that are going to be really good to use, especially while the weather's nice, isn't it? People are out and about. So even if you spot your neighbours mowing the lawn, you could maybe go out the front door and just watch them mowing the lawn. Make the most of little opportunities like that crop up. So one of the things that we do normally in our puppy classes is we work through a bit of a socialisation workbook. And I've ordered some new ones and they're coming next week. So my socialisation workbook, it covers everything that we've just talked about. So it explains to you why we're doing our socialisation, how we're doing it. And then it's got some tables where you can tick everything off. Probably so no one's going to say, you're not allowed to get out. She is getting a bit too big to carry. Yeah, carrying is the main way, really. Are they not letting you have second vaccinations? That's quite tricky, isn't it? I would maybe ring round any vets and see if any vets are doing second vaccinations, because I'm sure some of them will be doing second vaccinations. Yeah, you're going to have to carry. You're going to have to get strong. Driving around as well. So potentially what you could do is, like thinking of Glossop as an example, you could drive to Manor Park, couldn't you? There might be someone kind of walking through the car park and they can watch out of the window. So I think that's the only alternative you could do, is drive somewhere and sit and let them watch out the window, or drive somewhere where there's a bench and where you can sit down. Then obviously the risk is that if you're a bit stuck there, if people aren't giving you as much space as they're supposed to. Oh, really? We talked about that yesterday, didn't we, Jessie? That's a worry. I'll have a word with the vets and see what's going on. Because I know what happens nowadays is a lot of breeders start the vaccination. So they have their first vaccination with the breeders, and then they'll normally have the second one with you, but you need to make sure it's the same brand that you had before. I was reading an article by an American dog trainer, I think it might have been this morning actually, and they were saying that they were prioritising first vaccinations but not second vaccinations, which is a bit baffling, but I'll try and find out what I can. I'll try and find out some more information. There is a mobile vets in the area that comes to you, so I'll get in touch with them as well and see, because they will probably have all the protective equipment that they need. And in theory, you don't need to be closer than 2 meters to somebody, do you? Because you could just kind of send the puppy over in their direction. I mean, it's not ideal, but at least it gets it done. It's a tricky one. I'll do some research. That's all I can say, really. I'll do some research. But sitting on benches, going in the car. You can get carriers and push chairs and things as well. So if you're really struggling, that might be something to think about doing. I've got a friend who pushes her, I think she's like a pug cross around in some kind of special doggy push chair. But if you've got a really heavy puppy, get doing your weights, Kelsey, come on. If you've got a really big heavy puppy, it might be worth, I know it seems ridiculous, but investing in a puppy push chair for now, just so that over the next sort of 3 or 4 or 5 weeks you can still carry on getting them out. I know it's not ideal, but again, it's just doing the best that we can in this particular situation. So as I was saying with the workbook, what we've got in the back of it is we've got a big long tick list of all the different things that you're covering. And I find that really helpful when we're doing like our puppy visits and when I'm working with clients. I find it really hard just having all these things swimming around in my head and thinking, right, I must remember to do that, I must remember to do that. I like lists, I like writing things down. So I like to have things written down so I can say, right, well, I've checked off this, you know, they saw a motorbike today, they saw a horse today, that was fine, that was fine, that was fine. So I think it'd be adorable. Are there going to be puppies in pushchairs all over the place? So this workbook is coming next week. So once it's here, I'll be able to show you it and hopefully get it out to you so that at least you've got that and you can be working with that. Because I normally give that out free on the first week of class so people can get started with it. But I don't want you waiting until you can start a class to get started with your socialisation. So I think as soon as they come and I know who wants one, then I can get them to the post office and I can get them all posted off to you. So if you want one of the socialisation workbooks, if you let me know and give me your address, and then I can work out postage and things like that. Because obviously I only really want to go to the post office like once. I don't want to be going several, multiple times. Okay, so I think we're going to be able to do it. I think it's just going to be slightly different from what we think we should be doing. I think we're still going to be able to tick everything off, but it might just be a little bit more of a distance. And we're probably going to have to plan a little bit more and be a bit more prepared to do sort of spontaneous socialisation. So like where we live, often people will go past on horses. So it might be, you see a horse is going past, so quickly get your puppy out so it can watch the horse, because you might not have an opportunity to do it again. So it's going to be really kind of spontaneous socialisation and doing it a little bit from a distance. Okay, any questions? One of my cats is about to join in. Hello. Any more questions? And then we're going to finish off. And then I think somebody mentioned about biting. So I think it's Friday tomorrow, isn't it? So I think we'll do biting tomorrow. And I also want to talk about toilet training as well, because I know a few people are having issues with those. So I think we'll do biting and chewing tomorrow, and then we'll do toilet training on the next one. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do them over the weekend or whether I'll just leave it till Monday. I'm not bothered about doing it at the weekend. I'm happy to carry on as normal at the weekend. I'm working anyway, but I don't want to do it at the weekend and find that people are all busy. But I'm presuming that everyone's going to be stuck at home the same as me, so I may as well just carry on at the same time on a Saturday and the same time on a Sunday. I might ask you all what you think about that, whether to do Saturday and Sunday or leave it till Monday. Okay, so no questions have come up. So as I say, this will be in the group so you can watch it from the start again. I am going to post the body language handout in the group, and I'm also going to put in my my general socialisation handout as well, so that you've got that. And as soon as these workbooks come through, we'll start getting them out to you as well. Okay, right. Have a nice rest of day, and I will speak to you all tomorrow. Okay then, bye.